Well, welcome everybody. This is a really big experiment for the College of Business to be running this career day in a virtual Zoom environment, and kudos to everybody in behind the scenes, because certainly this was a little bit out of a lot of people's comfort zones, and we're all learning some different skills that are making us all better people, hopefully. So our 8:30 session is everything you need to know about management. Really what we've designed here is a discussion with our panelists talking about why a degree in management is a good idea and what you might be able to do with a degree in management, what they did with their backgrounds or what they've done in their careers, but how transient that degree is and where you might be able to take it. There's a variety of different paths. You want to change the slide, Lynn? So today I have Lynn, who's our behind the scenes type of person. She's our technical assistant, so thank you very much, Lynn, for managing that. I'm Dr. Peg Boyd. For some of you, you might remember referring to me as Dean Boyd. So for 16 years, I was the assistant dean in the College of Business. A year ago, I moved over full-time to the management faculty, and it's a great decision. I've had so much fun being impactful in the classroom, even despite the COVID, and become quite talented here online teaching. On our panel today, we have Sanford Friedman, founder and CEO of SLF Digital Enterprises, and has quite a career, so he's going to share that with you. And John Conforti, who is the CFO of Ocean State Job Lot, which I'm sure you are all familiar with and done. I'm in Job Lot every week, so, you know, probably supporting that company. We did have a third panelist. I did want to mention Marianne Gattinelli, whose information will be available to you. Marianne is in the Human Resources Talent Management area. Unfortunately, she had a death in the family and had to attend a services today, so she could not be with us. So we'll move forward. So what I want to do really is talk, first of all, about individuals' career paths. It's really, I think the stories behind people are so informative. One thing that all of you students got to know is that your degree, when you graduate from the College of Business, is a ticket. It's up to you to determine that destination. And that destination is not going to be a linear pathway. I guarantee you it will not. And there are twists and turns and pivots, opportunities that knock, that create different pathways of where people take their degree. So with no further ado, why don't I start with, since you have Stanford first, why don't we start with Stanford? He's going to talk a little bit about his career path and how he got to where he is today. So Stanford, welcome.
Thanks. Yes, it's Sandy is fine for anybody who wants to address me. I had a great experience at URI. It was quite a long time ago when I majored in management information systems when I came in. And I also had some great accounting professors who insisted that I minor and then double major in accounting. So that was not my choice when I came in, but I had a great professor who, when I was minoring in accounting, said you need to major in accounting, and I was able to take advantage of that advice and break. So that would be my first advice to you guys is when you have these things appear, they seem lucky or fortuitous, you should try and take advantage of them. And I was also a DJ at WRIU, amongst other things, and because I love music. So I graduated with honors with accounting and MIS double major. I went to work for Coopers and Lybrand, which at the time was part of the big 8 accounting firms, which don't exist anymore. They're now 4. So the C of PwC was Coopers and Lybrand in New York, where I did IT audit. So I was doing computer audit, and I got my CPA license. But shortly, I knew I wasn't going to be a partner. I really kind of realized it wasn't for me. And then I found my dream job, which was awesome. I was internal audit manager for Sony Music Entertainment. So I traveled the world on Sony's dime and saw a lot of music and learned a lot about large corporate media, and started to learn about royalties and intellectual property, which kind of became the foundation of the rest of my career. I switched within Sony to a job as part of a very large system implementation, which was another a skill I added to my tool set. This was a large distribution system implementation. So I always kind of had the accounting, but I kind of floated more towards the technology side, even though I had my CPA. But then I left Sony to go to Oracle, a large software company. I hope you all know. And I started there as a consultant doing ERP implementations, which again, kind of taking advantage of my accounting skills and system software skills and internal controls. So, and I worked on, and through all these years at Cooper's and at Oracle, I had some very, very large clients. I had some pretty small clients. I started to realize that I really enjoyed smaller clients. But while at Oracle, this opportunity came up. They were looking for somebody who had entertainment and media experience. So I always focused on media and entertainment because that's what I loved. And I became a product manager. I started learning a lot about intellectual property, which is copyrights. And it's kind of a lot of businesses are based on that. So that was also a great experience. From there, I left to join a very small startup called RightsLine back in the day of the post.com boom, and people were doing those sort of things. So again, this is again building on my experience, but this is a very small company, and you learn that you do whatever's needed. Whatever you're doing at a small company, you kind of have all the hats on. Then I got married. My wife was a lawyer. My kind of situation changed. I had some family issues that kind of threw me off, and I did a bunch of things. So I call that my post-marriage career buffet. I was a middle school teacher for a few months. I was accounting manager. And then I started to get really into digital publishing, so ebooks. At that point is when I founded my LLC, and I started to work on this idea of a digital replica of vinyl records. So I have a website called eVinyl that I've been working on. And from there, I kind of went back into the more small software company. I worked for a company called Fidel. And I bring that up because the person who got me the job at Fidel was one of my best friends at URI. We graduated together. So make sure these people that you're networking with and the classes with, the people that you like and you feel like you have something in common with, stay in touch with them because they will help you throughout your career. And so that's all I have to say. And I did it in less than 5 minutes.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Mm-hmm.
John, I know, can you go back to the other slide, Lynn? Thank you.
Yep.
So John, can you share with us a little bit about your career timeline?
Good morning, everyone. So it's an honor to be presenting to everyone here today in this virtual environment. I can kind of see pictures and, hey, Nicole, I see Andrew, not too many, it's interesting, So everything you need to know about management starts with your goals and aspirations. I mean, that is a key component of driving the process. I was recently asked by a student, how'd you come across the opportunity at Ocean State Job Lot? And I cannot honestly say when I was your age years ago and that I wanted to be involved in managing teams in all the areas that I'm involved in today at Ocean State Job Lot, because I didn't have a clue. For me, I just wanted to be a CPA before I knew what a CPA actually stood for, which is a true story. And after graduating in accounting, I spent 10 years as a CPA in public. Just to backpedal a minute, Sandy was talking about music. Being a trumpet player was a huge part of my childhood, probably all the way up till 30 years old. And I think I was the only the non-music major in the jazz band at URI, which I absolutely loved playing in the jazz band there. So anyway, graduated from URI in '77, spent 10 years in public accounting. And one of the first accounts I was responsible for was Ocean State Job Lot when there were 2 stores. I left public accounting, became CFO when there were 11 stores operating in 1987. So those first 10 years in public for me built a very strong foundation, everything from improving accounting skills and involvement in auditing. Taxes was very big. Everyone wants to, to understand taxes and to be able to save money. And management accounting, applied to many of the clients that you get exposed to. So, and then in addition to being a CPA, I wanted to further, I had this dream in public accounting that I could become a partner one day of a financial planning practice. And I think I was one of the first groups of people in Rhode Island when the certified financial planner designation came about, and I studied for that, passed that, and really found that to this day to be very helpful to me as I've gone from being so involved with operations and now kind of even overseeing an estate planning process here at Ocean State Job Lot. So applying the skills that you are passionate about in your work experience is absolutely foundational and will put you on that road to a career in management positions. All kinds of variables, all kinds of facts and circumstances that will be unique to you. I was asked, what do you feel was a turning point in your career at Ocean State Job Lot? And just excuse me 1 second. This is what happens when you're a accounting machine and the machine nixes your whole little thought pattern. Just give me 1 second because my computer just scrambled something on me.
Well, John, I can't agree with you more, on, your skill set. And, I also got a project management professional certification later in my career because I'd worked on a lot of projects. So you're always learning, you're always adding tools to your, tool set. So hopefully I covered that. You can go back.
Thank you, Sandy.
Sure, no problem.
that was the DJ part of you filling
Absolutely.
in, man.
Exactly.
That was very good. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, turning point in career at Job Lot, how did it impact your career going forward? So for me, that turning point, it helped having respect from the leadership here prior to being hired because we knew each other. However, after being hired, I recognized the value of technology, and I know Sandy touched on that when he was talking to you all. I began to branch away from my comfort zone as a CPA. And I started to spec out, keep in mind, this is in the, the mid 80s, but what was needed for us to design a computerized warehouse system, all right? Nothing that you're gonna find in taking accounting classes and everything else, but this is how, everyone tries to pivot to be the best you can be in the situation that you find yourself in. And so, that led to point of sale systems, and that led to, my involvement overseeing, the IT group today and having a CIO that I hired back in the 90s who's still with us today. We've accomplished really amazing things internally to try to support our growth. Another significant turning point for me was to truly understand how important our associates and people are to success. And I've always respected everyone I work with, but I'm talking about, from the standpoint of the importance of management and how that ties into goal setting and measuring results and how you need to use all those basic qualities to achieve great results, okay? And the formation of teams. And so all that academic foundational stuff in terms of management principles, it's amazing how, you know, if you can take that academic foundation and apply it to real life to improve morale of people around you and work toward great results and understand the importance of goal setting and measuring. I'm repeating myself, but all very, very important stuff. I was asked what is the most rewarding part of my job. It's really being considered a leader within the company. We're providing under 6,000 jobs, having more and more associates say they love working for JobLot, which was truly something that was an inspiring goal for me. Having close to 25 million customer transactions today in 2020, and having customers say they love shopping at JobLot. It honestly took, I feel it took a long time for us to get there. And now we find ourselves competing with accelerated internet buying and COVID fears of shopping out in stores. But you know, we've remained an essential retailer, and the first message to all our associates was safety before profits. And as CFO, as much as, you know, there was so much concern about the future, I feel extremely proud of the leadership decisions that made our teams feel safe and comfortable, which in turn helps our customers feel safe and comfortable. Question was asked about media outlets. What do you recommend to read or watch to be in the loop and knowledgeable about changes in the industry? You know, I kind of just personally, I watch the local national news every night, you know, news channels like CNBC, Bloomberg. There's so much out there. I am a complete geek with Google, a Google geek. I get, it's crazy. I don't know if I have, you know, 200, 300 Google alerts. I've got to really thin it out. But those alerts, you know, I set them up to track people, tracking companies, tracking causes, and tracking topics that always, you know, change from time to time that I feel I need to keep abreast with. What, in your opinion, is the best way to make connections with other financial professionals? It starts right where you are, okay? The people around you, you never know who you may connect with in the future. And having relationships with your peers as your journey in life continues is a wonderful thing, because I guarantee you, you will meet, you know, you'll meet somewhere, someplace that was unexpected. And then there's professional organizations, you know, depending on your passion. I would encourage you, you know, join these professional organizations that are out there. A lot of them encourage young, passionate energy in students. So I would encourage you to look into that. What advice would you give a recent college grad looking into a management field? Okay, it starts with your own dream and how hard you are willing to work for it. We'll tease at the office when something unexpectedly good happens and say, I'd rather be lucky than smart. But in my opinion, the reality is you create your own opportunity to be lucky, okay? And that's really through hard work and having a goal of what you would like to achieve, okay? A realistic goal. You know, developing your own competency, and most important, you know, always have confidence in yourself and your ability to help everyone you touch become better. It's kind of a simple way I've approached management, whether it's upstream, my peers, subordinates, that I've always felt that, you know, if by having me around, I'm helping, I'm growing, but I'm also helping everyone to become better. I think that's an ingredient to be a great manager. So wish you all the best today and tomorrow. I'm glad I got my little document back. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Sandy, it seems John went through a lot of those different questions that we had prepped for, and I'm curious for yourself if you want to add, and then we'll pivot to some questions from the audience. You know, if you want to talk a little bit more about the preparation that students have in college right now, and how they can be more marketable, what things you can see from your own career path that they should be focusing on, or touch upon any of those topics that you had that I sent in front of you.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think the phrase was, the people would call it brown nosing, but I always looked for people to help me, senior people. I also look to see, but like I realized very early on in my career that I really didn't want to be in senior management because I met a lot of C-level people. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that kind of a job. I really liked being very hands-on. As a matter of fact, the thing I had mentioned in my life was after my son was born a few years ago and was diagnosed with ADHD, I realized that I have ADHD, which made my whole life make sense. But I like being in a team. I like working with my hands-on stuff. You will, in the course of your career, you'll go through system implementations in one way or another as a user. The technology is always changing. You really have to stay on top of it. I would say also have a sense of humor. That's a good thing to have. I like to make people laugh. And I can tell you that almost every job that I had, that I got was someone I worked with bringing me to the next job. Like people I worked with like that happened a lot. So you should always, mentors or models, whatever, the people that you work with, you should establish good relations with them. And also know, I think a big thing for me was really knowing what my strengths and also what my weaknesses were. So, I wasn't good at doing timesheets. Like I like to have more of a free form kind of a day. And that's why I like the smaller companies. It's a little more unstructured, and that actually worked better for me. So you'll learn as you go through life. I think when I graduated URI, I had a thing pasted in the back of my little month at a glance that said MAS partner, which was a management consulting partner at a big firm, and that's what I thought I wanted to do because it paid $100,000 at the time. That was a lot of money. But as you get into the world, and everybody wants to compete and get ahead, but I'm more of a cooperative person, and that it's gotten me to where I want to be. I've been very, very lucky. I agree with what John said, that luck is really important and you have to take advantage of it. But I've been very, very lucky in circumstances in my career. I could point out many instances where luck has put me where I am, which is, to be honest, I'm semi-retired right now. My wife works full time. My son's in the next room in school, and I'm home. And I was lucky that I had the opportunity to be there for my family when my family needed me and things like that. So those things are also important. But just if you feel like you have some kind of a lucky break, or just take advantage of it. Like if you feel like, oh, it's good that I can tell you that my dream job, I remember sitting with my friend, it was a terrible interview, and all these people were getting accounting jobs at the Big 8, and I couldn't get a job. And I was like, what's wrong with me? I can't get a job. And, my friend said to me, what do you want to do? And I go, well, I want to be CEO of CBS Records, because that was Bruce Springsteen's record label, right? So I'm at Coopers and Lybrand. I realize I'm trying to move from IT audit to financial. I'm kind of stuck in the middle. And my friend goes, oh, here's this headhunter. And the guy gets on the phone and he says to me, I have a job at CBS Records. I said, what? So I interviewed for that job and I got it, and it was the greatest thing, but that was it was a fluke, right? I mean, that was just a fluke, but I realized that I didn't love the music business so much. Now I'm kind of getting back into it with this website that I'm working on. But, if you guys have any questions, otherwise I'll just ramble on. So.
Sandy, you bring up a really good point about the networking piece, right? So what we didn't have when we graduated from college was this whole LinkedIn technology today, right?
Right.
And these students have so much ability to connect so quickly and easily.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, John and Sandy, if you both can touch upon, the importance of networking, but also maybe some key strategies. What do you like when people reach out to you, or how have you helped people, or how have people helped you, as in that whole networking pathway?
Well, for me, like I said, every job that I got was through somebody I knew. I maybe one or two of these opportunities. The one that I discussed with, there was a headhunter involved. But for the most part, when I left Sony, I went to work I went to work for Oracle because the guy I worked with at Sony went to Oracle, right? So, and that was a common theme for me. But in terms of just networking, you know, I would never send a blind resume to anybody at a company. I would try and find somebody who knows somebody, and then try and see if they can connect me. Not just through LinkedIn. It's easy enough to get somebody to accept their invitation, but in some way to have some kind of contact with them. And that's kind of the way that I always operated. So I honestly recently haven't been good at keeping up my, you know, contacts with friends and stuff because I'm not actively in the job market. But it's always good to reach back to somebody you worked with a few years ago. Hey, how are you? So you know that somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, but you got to keep those, you know, embers going because you never know how they might end up at some company and they know the guy who's hiring in this department. So it's not just a matter of, you know, having how many people you're linked to on LinkedIn. You do have to have some kind of personal relationships with people. And that's why I said, be likable, be cooperative, have a good sense of humor. I think those are all really important skills, even though you're not so much taught, but because if people like you and they like to be around you, they'll help you, you know?
John?
Yeah, I mean, it is the environment today with tools like LinkedIn to be able to connect to people is, you know, it's amazing. You know, I established a LinkedIn site because I felt like I needed to, you know, just in case anybody was looking into Ocean State Job Lot or just to have a presence there. So I can't honestly say that I use it actively. I don't, but I think that if I were you in terms of, you know, being where you are in terms of looking for a job and stuff, I think it's a great tool. I understand, Sandy, your point in terms of connections. Connections often lead to opportunity that you know, then you can decide whether that opportunity makes sense for you or not. But on the contrary side of things, I kind of believe in the law of large numbers, and that if you were passionate about a particular type of job, and a tool like LinkedIn allowed you, or all these other recruiting sites allowed you to reach out and send resumes, you never know. I mean, my opportunity that led to working with Ocean State Job Lot and that accounting firm was after I was rejected from a national accounting firm because I only had a 3.1 GPA. I had a great interview, great conversation. And then the person said, John, he goes, you know, we only can hire someone who's 3.5 and above or something. And you know, I was committed to being a CPA, and I sent out like 100 resumes. And one of the 100 on the very, you know, 2 interviews that resulted from 100 resumes that I sent out was the firm that, you know, led to my partnership and led to Ocean State Job Lot. So for me, it was a little bit, you know, different. And that's why I believe that this combination, it's wonderful to be lucky. Let's all be lucky every day because it makes life easier. But there's something to be said about creating your own opportunity to be lucky, each in our own way, figuring out what that means for us, you know, but is part of the trick. I touched on professional organizations. I mean, I've always tried to be involved in at URI on the board of advisors. But network, you know, the more you're out there, adding value to the things you care about, the more opportunity on making connections, you know, so that's my spin.
You know, professional organizations are a very good place for all of you to look. Not only is it an opportunity to connect with people in a particular pathway or profession that you're looking at, but many of them have links to internships and job opportunities as well. And typically there is a student rate for you to join. So instead of it being a cost that would, a typical cost to a professional, there's usually a student rate that is nominal. It's usually anywhere between $10 and $25 to do that. You can get a list of those professional organizations by going to the bls.gov website through the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So if you have a particular area you're interested in, let's say it's human resources, and you type that in, it will tell you every organization that supports human resources, from training development organizations to SHRM, and you can learn all about that. So that's a great avenue. And then in LinkedIn, you can then link yourself into those organizations and get updates and information. So there's a lot of technological power at your fingertips that can help you advance your career, where in John and Sandy, as in my case, we had a very different paper process, where your process is going to be much faster to that.
Yeah, I also, I know we're running out of time, but I also, there were a lot of local networking events that I became aware of when I was in this like career, 2008, the job market was bad. I think everybody was looking, there was a lot of like just general, like IT, some of them are more IT oriented, but you can find like networking groups in your area that, in the, some point, hopefully will be in person, but that's another good way. And they would just, in those meetings, the guy would go, who do you want to work for? And you would go, I want to work for this company. And they go, oh, talk to Jim, who used to work, like, and they would just connect people. And that, I'm telling you, it's a huge thing, rather than, going through, some job site and, posting a net resume somewhere. I mean, that you definitely have to do that too, as John said, but I think that, I can't name any of them in my area at the moment, but you should be able to find those kind of things. They tend to be for mid-career people, but I think if you show up and people go, oh, I need somebody like you, it's a great way to get connected and get yourself a job.
Great, absolutely. We have a question from our students. The question that I have here is, do either of the panelists have any experience with human resources that they can elaborate on? Anything we should know if we wish to pursue a career in human resources? Now, I know neither of you are in that field, but I know you work a lot with your HR directors and in hiring practices. So maybe you could speak a little bit about that.
Sure. I mean, I can start out by saying that what I've witnessed in the Ocean State Job Lot Human Resource Department is that it's gone from a department was primarily involved in compliance and acted as a avenue for people to offer complaints or whatever, and it's transitioned in an amazing way that's become so much more involved in career development within the company, training, instead of complaints, reaching out to people for areas where we can improve. So much, it's just incredibly active. And now, instead of just thinking of as a cost center for compliance, from a strategic standpoint, an incredible part of the company. And the leadership that we've had in our HR, we have Bob Selliers, our CHRO, has just done a remarkable job in helping transform the culture that really has, for us, led to a goal of aspiring to be an employer of choice. Okay, and action speaks louder than words. It's easy to say that, but it takes a passionate HR department to drive that process. So to the extent you have a passion in HR and you're interested in HR, it's actually a great time, for a career choice in management in that area, in my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly don't have a lot of HR experience, but the only thing I would advise is, all of these jobs require you to work with some kind of technology, usually some packaged software application. And to the degree that you can get familiar with some of those that are used in HR departments widely, I think that's always going to be helpful if you can walk into an interview and say, oh, I heard you use this software and I'm somewhat familiar with it. Or, even if you're just read a little on their webpage or something. I think, any job that you're in, understanding the technology, how the technology is used in the company for that particular function is going to be helpful.
That's great. And Marianne Gattinelli was going to be that person on this panel to really hone in on the HR piece of it. And I would highly encourage any of you students to link with her on LinkedIn. She's very active on LinkedIn and she would be happy to get back to you. So feel free to do that. So I have another question that says, do either of our presenters have an example of how they would focus on their employees and their business strategies, how they would promote greater engagement from the workers at all levels?
Could you repeat that last part?
Yep.
Like,
so how you would promote engagement from your workers. In other words, I think, how do you keep your employees engaged? How do you, what kind of motivational, theories are you using in the workplace? How do you create probably a work culture that makes people want to stay and work at Job Lot, for example?
okay, I mean, for me, it's this balance of how strategic goals are communicated, that start at the very top and then filter into goals within different departments and areas. In and engagement is really critical because it's just communication, right? It's just communication with one another about the process, the progress, the obstacles, the opportunities, and there's a balance as a manager. There's this balance between one-on-one discussions and a manager to the team discussion. So again, all ties into facts and circumstances, and engagement should be two ways. You may find yourself with a boss one day who might be brilliant at what they do, but they're horrible in communication. And this is where you have to use your own judgment to apply what is my best chance of success if I enjoy the type of work that I'm doing. And you might have to be a person who tries to lead a discussion about topics, about goals, about the results, about opportunities. And you shouldn't be afraid to if that was the case. I mean, normally you have, managers who might talk too much and then you'll have to find a way to deal with that. But hope that helps answer the question.
Andy, anything to add?
Yeah, well, I think I would say that, there's a huge difference between being in a very large corporate environment, like an accounting firm or, Sony Music, or I was recently at Pearson Education, which is a global publisher, and then being at a smaller startup, right? So, and they both have their pluses and minuses. But my feeling is that, constant throughout your career is going to be change. Things change, managers leave, people leave. You're going to always have uncertainty. how comfortable the organization is with change and how it involves people in that change, and helps people adapt to those changing things, I think is really important. Like, for example, I was at Sony Music when the CD went away and all this digital stuff started to happen. And, you know, I was this middle manager audit guy going, hey, you know, this is all going to be ones and zeros. What do you guys, you know, and they had a very entrenched business model. They made a lot of money selling plastic CDs and stuff. Now, ultimately, they evolved, but a lot of people got laid off in the process, including myself, because they weren't making as much money, and they didn't really embrace that right away. And then you can go to a smaller company where they're just trying to make payroll, right? It's a whole different dynamic. So it really depends. But I think as a person in a job, I think you have to go to work every day and try and achieve whatever that short-term goal is, and try and keep the people around you motivated. It's hard for you to influence a very large organization. All you can do is influence the people around you. And if you're fortunate enough to become a CEO of a large corporation, well, then yeah, you set the direction. But if not, I think, don't overlook the day-to-day things for the strategy. The day-to-day things will result in a strategy. And I guess that would be my short answer.
Great. So I want to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to launch a quick poll for the students about internships, and then we'll have our panelists answer a couple of questions regarding the value and importance of internships. So Lynn, go ahead and launch that poll for the students.
So currently what's loaded in as my polling, and I don't see a place to edit it. If anyone knows what that is, you can let me. I have, what is your class year? And then I also have, what is your major? So would you like me to do major or class year? Because then we can discuss internships based on either one of those.
Class year is fine.
Okay. Get ready, everyone. So if everyone could put their stuff in, that would be great. I'm watching it kind of jump around of who's here in the class year. And Peg, just tell me when you want me to end it. It looks like everyone's done.
Okay, go ahead and end it.
All right, I'm ending it, everyone. And then share results.
All right, so we have 43% freshmen, 6% sophomores, 35% juniors, 9% of seniors, and 2% masters, and a few others. Great. So when we talk about internships, those freshmen, a good group of freshmen, I love that number, by the way. I applaud you. Congratulations, freshmen, for being involved and really taking that thought process of what's my why coming to college early on. That's important. But when we talk about internships, I'd love to hear from our panelists about maybe people you've personally hired as interns and what made someone a successful intern. I mean, we can rank in our head all the interns we may have had and said, this person over that. Or what you, if you haven't had a lot of interns, what you think students should be looking for in an internship, just to kind of refocus a little bit in our last 10 minutes on an action item for many of these students.
Hey, for us here at JobLot, the Human Resources Department kind of coordinates an internship program that we started years ago, and it's again been transformed from a hire someone to do part-time work so they can gain experience, which is, even when I was at URI, I ended up getting some summer job because I wanted something to put on my resume. And again, sent, I don't know how many different things out, ended up working at Hasbro. And the thing I remember the most is this person who was great, had asked me the question when I was interviewing if I knew how to use a calculator. And I said, of course I can use a calculator. Well, little did I know, and it's hard for you to relate to this, but at the time, it's just you had these manual calculators, and and there's a difference between punching, one number at a time. It's like looking at a typist who can type, I don't know how many hundreds of words a minute, versus someone like who's using one finger or two fingers. And I developed my skill to be a fast someone fast on the calculator at Hasbro. So, the point is, for me, it was looking for any opportunity to show on my resume and to develop, the beginning of work experience. Today at Jobla, and it started out that way here, where it was just, like as in a part-time position. Today, it's a much structured program, and there's goals that relate to every department that has an intern on what that expectation is for the intern, getting input from them. It results in a team meeting. So the reality is, and as Sandy was touching on, it depends on the environment, the company, the area, the area of your interest. But I think it is to strive for experience, and whether it's a structured intern program or experience that is helpful for you to develop. For me, it was just learning that, learning how to use that calculator was amazing. So hope that helps.
Yeah, so I don't really have a lot of experience either being an intern or having many that I can recall, but let me just add a kind of jump off what John was saying. I mentioned earlier that I was a DJ at WRIU because I loved music, right? And that wasn't really an internship, but it was something that I wanted to do. And, looking back now at it, I learned a tremendous amount of stuff that I didn't realize I was learning. One is to be able to speak and, off the top of my head, without a script, and think quickly on my feet. I did a lot of teaching and training, so that helped me a lot in that environment where I had to, keep the audiences engaged. Also I learned how to manage time, right? I had a certain amount of time to play music, a lot of those sort of things that aren't obvious, right? But also at that time, there was an opportunity in one of the departments at URI where they were installing a local area network, aging myself, but I volunteered to help out with it. It didn't really turn out to be there wasn't a lot of work in it, but I always looked for just places where I could learn something. And I think the more that you do that, whether it's a formal internship or not, I think you really just have to find something that you're interested in and realize that you can learn something out of it. And again, just getting back to the idea of what you want to do, like take these internships and you might find that it's not the thing you thought it was, and those are also useful too. So it's not always just a positive experience that helps you. Sometimes these negative experiences like, oh, I thought this was this, but it's not. You should learn from all of those things. So I guess that's all I have to say on that.
That's great advice, Sandy. I often tell students that sometimes it's through learning through the internship that you don't want to do something. Look at all that time you didn't waste, right? Pursuing or going down a career path that you realize now, wow, that really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So internships are great to figure out not only what you want to do, but what you don't want to do as well. So we are living in a very different time right now, this whole COVID-19 time. Here we are in a virtual career day. And I'm curious what advice, John and Sandy, you might give to this generation as they look at what the future world of work might look like, and what skills do they maybe need to focus on that 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you might not even mentioned it, right? It might not have been on the top 5 list for you, but given this transitional of remote working, virtual teams, all of that, is there anything that comes to mind that you say, hey, take this seriously and develop some of these skills that will set you apart?
I can jump on that one. When I was working at Oracle, they were in California. I was still based in New York. So I learned very early, a long time ago, how to be virtual. Um, and, you know, it wasn't Zoom meetings, but there were variations of that. I was on long phone calls. And I think all of that is good. I hope this does clear up because I do think you need some in-person FaceTime with people, right? I think that helps to be in somebody's presence. And then after that, you know, you can kind of move on. But like I've been in rooms where everybody's on a Google Meet, you know, in the same room. Like we're just, even if we're physically together, because you're sharing screens and things like that. So it's even when things clear up and you're back in a physical space, being virtual is important. I mean, the hard part is, you know, keeping your attention and you know, when you're not in a room full of people, and it's hard now. I'm sure a lot of you here are like, you know, you get distracted and stuff. But I think that um, even if it wasn't for COVID, you know, like my experience was that there's always a lot of these virtual meetings. But if you, I would say it's a challenge if you never physically meet people or somehow in their presence. I think that's going to be a challenge going forward. But then I'm an old person, so I was going to ask your guys' advice about how to survive in this environment. You know, you should know better. So.
Yeah, I think just to add, it certainly makes things difficult, but hopefully this, you know, again is a, um, well, COVID certainly may have been an accelerator to more remote working. And in the long run, I'm kind of an eternal optimist, and I just think that some hybrid will develop in terms of how that's balanced with um, in-person learning and working. So I'm sure things are going to continue to evolve. Um, you know, just from a skill set, I would just encourage everyone to, whether you feel you're good in math or not, I think data literacy is such an important part of most professional careers today. And you don't have to be super passionate about it, but you just want it to be a part, you know, because I just think that how you use data in your future careers, the foundation you're going to get from school and the classes in that area, that these business intelligence tools are going to continue to develop, and it's really going to touch all facets of work. So I would encourage you, if there's electives or whatever, to really think about that area.
Yeah, can I just add one more thing on this virtual work thing, which I think is an important lesson to learn if you're going to be doing it, is try and keep your hours and have some kind of a personal life. It's very easy when there's always a technology, if you're working, especially if you're working for a global company where in India it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've gotten up at 4 in the morning to do calls with tech people over there. So, but it is a challenge because you know, if you're engaged in your work and you're on a team and you're trying to get stuff done, but you know, life is short. So even though you have the opportunity to work a lot of these, you know, virtually different hours and times, you know, try and keep your life balanced. And yeah, that's also important.
So we have a amount of time to just kind of have some closing remarks. So in thinking about that, John and Sandy, I wonder if you can reflect back from just being at your experience at the University of Rhode Island, being a Rhody Ram alum, what has graduating from the University of Rhode Island meant or has assisted you in your career? And what closing remarks or advice do you give to these future Rhody Ram alumni?
Well, obviously, for me, I just felt it. Attending URI and being able to focus on my career in the College of Business, along with playing in the jazz band. It was like, the best of both worlds. I felt like there was a lot of hard work, but there was balanced, to Sandy's point, was balanced with a lot of fun. So, and here we are, a whole bunch of years later. So life is truly short. It may not seem that way to you right now, but it does fly by. And you're all motivated. The fact that you're just, you're attending this class, you want to learn, you want to succeed, bodes well for your future, And I think the university, it's a great environment. Everyone is trying their best to deal with the COVID and the remote situation. And there's a learning curve, as we're all kind of getting better dealing with it, but it'll be interesting to see what the new normal is. So certainly wish you all the best today and tomorrow.
Yeah, I will say that, I'm married to a woman who went to Brown and Columbia, and a family full of people who went to Ivy League schools. And I was a little insecure when I first got into this family, but I can tell you that I got an incredible education at URI. I'm very proud that I went there. I think one of the things that's great is to take advantage of all the different people that you're going to meet. I lived with engineers. I was very friendly with pharmacy students, not just people in your, number crunching world, but, nursing, obviously. There's a lot of people that you can to meet with and expand your horizons. People who will, turn you on to a book or something else that'll influence where your life goes. So definitely take advantage of those kind of things. And, you can have a plan, but just, be flexible, always pack your parachute. Life changes. You could have the greatest job and then all of a sudden your job's gone for some reason beyond your control. So just build a toolkit that you have and have a parachute and just always be able to, feel like you're going to land on your feet. But, and the other, I would recommend highly that you read a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's about human behavior and how your brain works. And if you have some downtime between studying, it's an excellent book, and it teaches you how your mind thinks and how you want to have answers that come quickly and being more analytical. And it's just, when you really understand how human beings think, it can help you a lot. So I would recommend that book, and it just always be learning. So, and it's going to be an adventure no matter what happens. So good luck to you guys all.
Great. John and Sandy, I want to thank you for taking this valuable time out of your busy days to share with us. Students, I'm sure you can link up with both John and Sandy via LinkedIn, put a little note how you met them through this conversation. Just as a reminder for the students, there's another session at 9:45 that you can log into, and there is the virtual career fair this afternoon. Lynn, do you have any closing remark?
No, I just want to thank everyone for attending. Thanks for the questions. And of course, thanks to Sandy and John for giving your valuable time to the students. It's very much appreciated.
Great. Thank you all. Have a great day.